Because what we don't think about is this, that America, they have their loans, they have their debt in dollars. And guess what? America print their money, dollars. So they can literally just go and print money to pay their debt because they owe their debt in dollars. But what about us? In Africa, we don't use American dollars. And a lot of our debt is not in our own currency, it's in their currency. So in order to get their currency, we cannot really print their currency and have it for ourselves. Or we cannot, even ourselves, we need to actually generate our income, use our money, and then transact them to dollars in order to pay those debts. This is the journey to One Africa. Hey guys, so I love reading books, right? I love reading books, and some of the books that I've read last year, these two books by Dambisa Moyo. Dambisa Moyo, I think she's a writer, PhD writer from Zambia. She wrote a book about how the West was lost, all right? I'm doing a little bit of promotion of Dambisa Moyo. Check me out, Dambisa Moyo. And another is, why aid is not working in Africa, like Dead Aid book, right? So I want to talk a little bit about Dead Aid, or a little bit about AIDS and African debt and why it's not working for Africa. So this video, I titled it as top 10 African countries with the highest IMF debt. And this came in July 2025, like exactly this month. IMF just released a list of top 10 African countries that has highest debt. So I know a lot of Africans are watching this video, so please just hang on to hear your country. Is it number 1, number 2, or number 10? All right, this is top 10. It means there's other countries in maybe top 20, top 30, top 50, but that's not a good news, right? You might be sitting there and wondering that, oh, you know what? I'm glad that my country is not in top 10, but the matter of the fact that your country has aid, it has debt from IMF, it's a big of a deal. All right. So this book, if I summarize a little bit, I know a lot of Africans have read this book. Basically, the Dambisa Moyo is talking about why aid is not working and how there's a better way for Africa. That aid, it never works for Africa. And I don't know why our leaders and our governments are keep asking for loans and aid, because it never worked. For the past 60 years, since the independence of African countries until right now, we have been taking aid from IMF and other international organizations, World Bank, and so on and so forth. But it never really worked because those aid, it was never designed to liberate Africa from economic dependence. All right. It was never aimed for that. But aid, it was actually made, it was actually, I forgot the word. Oh my God, I just forgot the word. Aid, it was intended, okay. Aid, it was intended to actually keep Africa in a very dependent state. Not independent, but dependent. But I don't know what fools us. I don't know what we think, we Africans. We think that aid, it was actually intended to make us be independent. But not. We're actually dependent more because we depend on aid. Okay, take an example. If you take a loan from a bank, are you independent or are you dependent? All right, if you take a loan, I lived in South Korea and a lot of people there, they have cars, they have apartments, but most of them, they take loan from the bank. So are you independent or are you dependent if you take a loan? Even the scripture says the borrower is the slave to the lender. All right. So basically you became slave to bank because you take that loan from them. Why? You will never be independent because you will work 24/7 to find money to pay back your debt. Instead of focusing on developing yourself, no, you're actually stressing yourself, work 2-3 jobs to just pay back the loan that you owe. You can take an example of countries like United States. A lot of students, they actually graduate, and they have a lot of debt. So they work their butt off just to pay the debt of the schools. The same thing in Africa as well. Our students, they go to university, but actually they're all government. So when they start receiving the salaries and employed, you know what happens? Some portion of their salary actually is paying back to the government. So basically, you're not really independent, but you're dependent. Because your prosperity, your development, it depends on your lender. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't pay them, what they will do, the bank, they will come, they'll sell your cars, they'll sell your house, they will they take everything away from you. Why? Because they want their money back. And that's what exactly happening in a bigger perspective when you're talking about Africa. So I am surprised that you have leaders who are standing on the pulpit and they say this, that, you know what, even America, they have loan. Even Western countries, even UK, London, whatever, they have loans. Who are we not to have loans? It is very ridiculous as a leader of a country, of a nation, saying something like that. Because what we don't think about is this, that America, they have their loans, they have their debt in dollars. And guess what? America print their money, dollars. So they can literally just go and print money to pay their debt because they owe their debt in dollars. But what about us? In Africa, we don't use American dollars. And a lot of our debt is not in our own currency, it's in their currency. So in order to get their currency, we cannot really print their currency and have it for ourselves. Or we cannot, even ourselves, we need to actually generate our income, use our money, and then transact them into dollars in order to pay those debts. So basically, we are the ones that are suffering because our money, first and foremost, our money's value is lower compared to dollar. Why? Because we use dollar in every transaction and we don't even want to have African currency. And therefore, we boost dollar money, the dollar, and then our money keep depreciating day after day after day. Plus, our debt, our loan we receive from IMF and World Bank, one of the conditions is receiving this loan and aid in dollar or in euro. So what you gotta do is whatever income you have in your country, you have to change it to dollar or euro and then to pay them back. It is a lot of money because right now, for instance, in Tanzania, $1 is equal to 2,600 Tanzanian shillings. So if your debt is $1 billion, so take $1 billion US times 2,600, and then you'll see how much money we owe. How much money we need to pay back to the United States. That's basically, it's almost the economy of the country. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like 1 billion is the economy, but I'm saying it's a lot of money. And that money, if we did not borrow, because plus, you're not just going to pay $1 billion, you need to pay interest rate, which is a lot of millions of dollars then you have to pay. Why? Because maybe you took that loan for 10 years, for 20 years, and however, time you need to pay back in debt. So America, they might have debt that they need to pay, but guess what? They don't even need to use their own money because because they owe us a lot of money and we need to pay back to them, and they can actually use that money to pay their debt. So the biggest difference that we have in these loans, for those who are, who are saying there's no country that can develop without loan and aid, guess what? Our loans, we need to pay in dollars, and we don't even use dollars in our country. For them, they need to pay in dollars. They can simply print money and pay back. And that's why Africa, we're still in this state of begging. Why? Because we can never pay fully, and we keep borrowing. So we're always in debt. Always in debt, always in debt. When you look at the budget of our countries, we always work so hard in order to pay debt that this money is going to debt. But as days goes on, as years goes by, we still need to pay back. We still need to pay back. We still need to pay back. Every time we have budget for that. And what about development projects? And that's why aid, this is dead aid. It is not working for Africa. It is not working for the continent. We don't even have political will to do things. We don't even respect that. I heard some of the countries in Africa, when they're moving from, lower income to the middle income, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they were saying, no, we cannot go there. Why? Because once you prosper to middle, and then you go to higher, you know what? You lose aid. They're not going to give you aid. They're going to support those poorest countries in the world. And if you move up there, you're not going to. So some of the leaders, they decide to remain in the same state of their countries so that they may continue to receive money. And how does that money used for? Nothing, literally nothing, because you don't see development, you don't see nothing. So right now, I'm going to bring to you top 10 African countries with the highest IMF debt in July 2025. The first country is Egypt. Egypt, literally, the debt of Egypt is 7.4 billion US dollars. The second country is Cote d'Ivoire, 3.1 billion US dollar. The third country is Kenya, $3 billion, 0.022. The fourth country is Angola, 2.7 billion US dollar. The fifth country is Ghana, 2.7 billion. DRC, 1.9 billion, almost 2 billion. The seventh country, Ethiopia, 1.5 billion US dollars. And then the eighth country is my country, Tanzania, 1.3 billion US dollars. Cameroon, number 9, 1.15 billion US dollars. The 10th country is Senegal. This is 992 million US dollars. So guys, this is the top 10 countries. By this July, with the highest IMF bank. So here comes the question. How now can we develop our countries without having aid? How can we develop our countries without having these loans from World Bank and IMF and whatever, European Union, whatever? Well, first and foremost, what has to be done right now is to pay this debt. Because what is going on is that, every leaders who comes in the regime, they keep just borrowing. So the national debt continue to increase and increase and increase. And I don't know when we're going to be able to pay off this debt. So right now, what has to be done is that the continent, African country, has to pay this debt to remove ourselves from these equations of aid. And second, we need one Africa right now. We need one Africa, guys. I don't know why people, they don't see this. I don't know why people, they don't see how much we need the unity of Africa to liberate ourselves from economic dependence. Yeah, when I said this, that at that time, our forefathers really fought so hard to liberate us from for independence, because we were not independent back in the days. But right now, it is up to us to pick up the baton and to fight for the independence of economic liberation. This is the war we are having right now. They don't have to hold guns and come to fight with Africans. No, they just need to give you loan and aid with high interest rate, and the condition you have to receive these loans and aid in dollars so that you may not be able to repay this money. And if you do anything stupid, they're going to do what Donald Trump is doing today. Put sanction on you, put economic sanctions on you, and you have loans to pay, and you cannot receive nothing. President Trump just, stop USAID. And a lot of African countries are struggling. A lot of organizations are struggling. Those who started organization and started NGO, by depending the loans from USAID, there's nothing. Thank God for our organization, because when it started, we said we're not going to receive a loan or aid from anywhere, and we're not going to ask from anywhere. We simply ask people that, guys, Africans have to support African movement. Africa has to support Africans, has to support good cause that is happening in the continent. And that's what we say. Thank God, because if we're depending on that, right now the office will be closed. Why? Because we don't have finance. We don't have money. A lot of offices in Africa have been closed because USAID has been kicked out from Africa. He stopped giving money. We have been very dependent to them while we expect to have free continent. It will never happen. So this is the call for one Africa right now. How does one Africa is going to save us from these shackles of economic dependence? If we come together, we're no longer begging, but now we call shots. If we come together, we're no longer borrower, but you know what we're going to do? But we're going to sit on the table of negotiation and be business partners. and decide and call the shots how we want things to be run. We're not going to run things because you want us to run this way. No, we're calling the shots. We are Africa. You need us. We know that you need us. But right now, it seems like Africa does not know how much Africa is needed by the West, by the East, by everybody else. If you want to prove yourself, see how many Chinese are in the countries. See how many white people are in the countries. See how many organizations and companies are in here. They're coming to take your wealth away from your own continent, and yet you are still sleeping. You're not at work to realize that we need to come together to protect this motherland. We need to come together to bring about development in our continent. We need to support, to help, and to work together to develop this continent. We don't need anybody else. We need each other to change this continent. But we are not together, and that's why the change is not happening. So right now, guys, as I'm saying right now, go down in the comment section, go down in the description. You find a link called Sign the Petition. We need one Africa right now. We need one passport. We need one army. We need one central bank. We need things. We need one powerful organization that will work for the Africa and for the agenda of Africans. That we need to be economic independent. We need that. Otherwise, we're going to be dead, because dead aid leads to death. And that is what is happening in Africa. And this is not something to be proud of. Top 10 countries, top 20, top 50. Why should we be there? Why? Look at how much money here we owe. Look at how much money we owe. This is just one continent. But if I plus here, this is 10 billion, 13, 15, this is 17, 18, 19, 20. My goodness. 21, 22, 23. 24 US billion dollars for just 10 countries in the continent. 24, guys. 24 billion US dollars for 10 countries in the continent. Think about all the countries in the continent. We're not going to be 24. We're going to be trillions of dollars. Can you imagine, guys? Can you imagine? Guys, this is a lot of money. 24 billion US dollars. 24 billion US dollars. I don't know what you guys think, but it's very sad. Africa has to be independent. Africa, we have to work for Africa. And we have to remove ourselves from all these tragedies that we are going through. Guys, let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts, and how can Africa get away from these shackles of IMF and World Bank? Let us know strategies in the comment section, and it will help us to really serve our countries and serve our continent. I appreciate, guys. I love you. Subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you in the next one.